Hello, and welcome to Good Grief, a podcast dedicated to demystifying and destigmatizing grief with compassion and humor. I'm Nikki. I'm an end-of-life doula and a grief coach in Columbus, Ohio. And today I have the final episode of season 8. Oh my gosh, it snuck up on me. I didn't warn you all. I am so sorry. This is the fun. Typically, I end the season on a solo episode, but it's not been the best couple of months for Nikki the Death Doula. So I do have an amazing episode today. I'm going to tell you all about that here in just a second, but I do apologize. I didn't have a solo episode, but I've got some great things coming up. I've already recorded a couple more interviews for season 9, which will launch on May 20th. So 4 weeks off as usual in between my seasons, but never really a break for me. I've already recorded a couple of interviews. I've got some fantastic ideas for some solo episodes. And also coming up in season 9, as you know, I'm part of the Feminist Podcast Collective. We're doing a Pass the Mic program where we're going to get a topic and we're all going to do an episode on whatever topic that is. So look forward to that. I believe my episode will be late May, early June. So be looking forward to that. But today I had a fantastic conversation with Isabella Young. Isabella has written a couple of fantastic books. Please go check those out. I'm going to have links all in the description down below, but it was a very interesting conversation. Isabella is a survivor of a cult in the United States. She has since left that. I am going to put a whole bunch of trigger warnings here. There is mention of murder. There is mention of obviously cult, being in a cult. There is some language, so I'm going to put explicit on this as well. There is a little bit of language, not much. We're not dropping F-bombs throughout the episode, but there's a few words here and there. So if you've got little ones around, you might want to do the headphones or save this for another time. But obviously, lots of trigger warnings. A lot of things went on in that cult that, she talks about and references a little bit. So just please be mindful of that. But please listen. The episode is fantastic. Check out all of her information. I'll put that in the description below. But I'll let her tell you more about all of that as well. Before we get into the episode, I would love to see all of you over at the Good Grief Society. If you are a fan of the show, if you have had any type of loss in your life, which we all have, you hear about all the different types of grief on the show. It's not just death loss. But if you've suffered any kind of loss and you just want a great place to hang out with other people who get it, the Good Grief Society is the place for you. We're not doing any of the toxic positivity. We're not doing any of the flowery stuff. This is a real space for real grief. So there's a link down in the description below, but if you go to nikkithedeathdoula.com/podcast, there's a link there as well. We have monthly grief circles. I have speakers and workshops. There's a Slack space. There's journal activities, all sorts of great stuff. Please come check that out. I would love to see all of you there. And if you want to support the show in other ways, you can always go to patreon.com/nikkithedeathdoula. Enough of that. Let's get on with today's episode because I'm so excited for you to hear from my guest this week, Isabella Young. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in again this week to Good Grief with Nikki the Death Doula. I am very excited to have another special guest episode with you. I have a wonderful guest. I'm super excited to hear her story, which always sounds weird, but she's been through a lot, and I'm just interested to hear more about it and have her share her story with you. So, Isabella, would you mind introducing yourself to my listeners and tell us just a little bit about you?
Well, thank you for having me as a guest on your podcast, Nikki. I'm looking forward to sharing about my grief experiences and hope the information that I share can be of benefit to some people because grief is a bitch and it's,
Yes.
yeah, it really
Yes, it
is.
is. It is a bitch.
It's kicked my butt a few times. So I'm originally from Australia, and I got caught up in a cult in America, and then that led to the murder of my son, and then I escaped to Hawaii, and I'm living here now, healing, continuing to heal from my experiences because my son's death wasn't my first close encounter with death. When I'll just say a bit of a trigger warning that I have had a lot of intense stuff happen, and sometimes I can tell the story just like it's nothing, but other times, it really hits me pretty hard. But I met a man. We were having this beautiful life together, and living on a farm, living my dream.
Oh,
And I was 3 months pregnant with our second child, and he went off to work one day and had a coronary atherosclerosis, so his heart stopped.
oh my
And
gosh.
I got a knock on the door from the local cop and a neighbor to tell me that. And I knew in that instant my life was over, no more soulmate, no more dream. I couldn't run the farm by myself. That was just
Oh my gosh.
impossible. So,
Yeah.
no, that whole idea of having a family, mum, dad, and the kids and all that gone,
Yeah.
it just gone. And that sent me into a black hole. And I didn't want to live anymore. In fact, if I hadn't had a child and been pregnant, I wouldn't have. It was just too much.
Oh,
So I had to find a reason to keep going, for them.
yeah.
Like, and not only that, but become like a person who wasn't crippled by grief, to
Yeah.
find positivity in life. And I did. I do a lot of like spiritual work back. I started off as an atheist, thanks to my mother, and ended up actually being very devoted to serving God. And after I lost my partner, and we'd done a lot of work together, a lot of shamanic journey and meditation and stuff. I
Oh
did this
wow.
course called Dying to Live, where we were. It was a shamanic journeying course where we were blindfolded in silence and preparing for our death. And what we did was wrote our will and wrote a eulogy and
Oh
wrote letters of
wow.
apology and stuff like that, which is a good practice to do
Yeah.
anyway,
Oh
just to
yeah.
clear the energy between people. So we did that. And then on the last day, not the last day, but the last event of that particular exercise was a guided meditation where we created our what's called a Merkaba, which is our light body. Looks like the Star of David, but in 3 dimensions, and it's a light
Oh,
vehicle that allows us to travel between anywhere, space and time, and other places and all
yeah.
that. And I had this massive out of body experience, and then I received some information that then led me on to leaving Australia and going to America
Oh wow.
to be with this particular spiritual teacher. But that's then ended up being that probably in the most challenging time of my life, because I really
Yeah.
was very vulnerable at that
Yeah.
time. I wanted a family, I wanted to belong, and this whole situation seemed to fit those criteria. But I actually ended up in a cult and
Oh my gosh.
married to the cult leader. And after about 8 years of living hell, I don't have time to get into it, but
Yeah.
uh, he allegedly had my son murdered to prevent being exposed as a pedophile
Oh my
and a
gosh.
rapist. Oh yeah, so that was the what broke me out of the cult programming. Then
Hmm.
I was able to see that more of what was going on, although a lot of my understandings didn't come for years later. Like, I didn't know about this whole pedophile thing. I thought I was just in a celibate marriage, but he was off with the grooming young boys
Oh,
and the men in the cult, really sick stuff. He's still operating. It's a whole thing. I can't really get into it, but I had to once again, once my son had at the time it was framed as a suicide, and I was blamed. So that was a whole, that just made everything even worse. So I had to claw my way back. It took like 6 months just breathing in a dark room, breath to breath. It was
yeah.
a nightmare, but I had to, claw back into life again. And I went to see this counselor who'd been part of the cult, and he'd left. And when I walked in the door, he said, "I knew you'd come and see me one day. You know you're in a cult, don't you?" And I said, "No, I thought I was in an ashram with my guru." And he said, "Go home and Google cult characteristics." So I did and checked all the boxes, and then I knew I had to get out. So that was a process in itself. He eventually let me go because he knew that I really was I was so close to self harm.
Yeah.
And so I came to Hawaii, and that's really when my healing started. And then I was able to calm my nervous system. And I just thoroughly recommend this to everyone, but particularly if you've just experienced grief or the shock of a loss or
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's important to go out into nature and connect directly to earth, bare feet on the earth, lie on the earth.
Yeah.
And that's the most profound thing that you can do because that'll help calm your nervous system. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, you won't be in balance. And from all the EMFs we're getting at the moment,
Hmm.
bombarded by all this dirty electricity and whatever from the phones and all. Not the electricity is not from phones, but anyway,
Yeah.
being in nature, bare feet on the earth is essential to help us move through those times that are just going to just rock us because that really means we're grounded. We're
Yeah.
literally grounded and
Yeah.
connected to the earth. And so then we don't get so like thrown around by all life's, ups and downs, shocks and horrors. To
Yeah.
stay connected to the earth and do that every day. It balances us physiologically, like electromagnetically, and also I feel like it balances me spiritually because I'm connected to the earth and I'm outside connected to the cosmos. So I'm as solid as a rock,
Yeah.
as I'm going to be. So that's been my journey since being in Kauai, is just to continue to learn about all the different medicines that are available to us to help us through these times. All the different, like I sun gaze every day. So I receive the light of the sun, which is the brightest, I'm sorry, the highest form of information that's available to us now. And that goes into through my eyes into my pineal and pituitary gland. And
Hmm.
that will, for a start, it just makes me feel good. It doesn't have to happen for very long. In fact, don't do it if you're starting out.
Yeah.
Seconds to start with is so powerful, and that's all you need. And it gives a like a boost of energy. And then there are so many ways that information is going to optimize us. And
Hmm.
it's not that we have to understand that, but just trust that that's what light is. Light is life-giving information.
Yeah.
So if we're taking that life-giving information straight into our brain, who knows how? I just know it works for me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
thoroughly recommend. And then there's other things that that probably to people are gonna sound all woo-woo, but they work. So
I love the woo woo. I'm all about the woo woo.
you can touch trees, you can
Yeah.
aware and hold crystals, you can
Hmm.
touch grounded pets, eat root vegetables,
Hmm.
potatoes and carrots and sprouts. There are all so
Hmm.
many ways that we can nourish and support our physical bodies that so we can handle these big waves of emotion because
Yeah.
everyone is grieving at the moment on some level, and not just from loss of a person. Our whole piece, the way we live peacefully is being challenged, and the way
Yeah.
we want to move through life is being challenged. So we have to, it's there's a lot going on at the moment, and it's really important that we
Hmm.
take the time to connect to nature. Just lie on the ground and watch the clouds. Go watch a
Yeah.
bird, and watch ants. Whatever it is, just
Hmm.
take that time and then you'll be sourced, and then you'll be balanced, and you'll be energized, and you won't be so depressed, and you won't be staring at a screen because that's not
Yeah.
really what's of most benefit for us.
No, not at all.
It doesn't make us human to be living
Yeah.
life through a screen.
Yeah,
So
I totally agree. I'm such a nature person. My listeners know that about me. I love long distance backpacking. I like to just get lost out in the
yeah,
woods
right.
with just
Hmm.
my backpack, and there's nothing that feels as good to me as just sitting on the ground, like just butt, feet, whatever, touching ground and just like feeling the energy of the earth come up through me.
Exactly.
It's so energizing. So
And
I
it's
want
so
to,
simple. I just want to say it's so simple and
it
it's
is,
free. All you've got to go is go and be relaxed, because when we're in
yeah.
a relaxed state, that's when we receive the most. And
Hmm.
just open and receive and trust and then give thanks for
Yeah.
whatever it is that you're receiving. And yeah, I agree with you. There's no way to experience optimal physical or mental health without that connection. There's just no way.
Yeah.
You're just wasting your time, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I agree. Screens and phones and computers they're not going to help us. They're great tools for things in life, but they are not going to heal us at all.
No,
So thank
no.
you for mentioning that. So I'd like to go back a little bit because you gave us a lot. You've been
I
through,
know, I know.
no, it's okay. You've been through so much. And first of all, I'm sorry that all of this happened to you, but the fact that you're now on this side and you're able to talk about it is a huge benefit to somebody who might find themselves in this position or headed towards this position. So, you experienced a tragic loss with your husband, and that time when you were most vulnerable, that sounds like that's when you were led into this cult. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so they preyed on your vulnerability and your grief to kind of brainwash you and take over your life at this point. Is that valid?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play the
Okay.
complete victim. I know that I was his victim, but in overall,
Right.
I'm not playing the victim in my life. What I although things unfolded, there were a lot of tragedies. Whatever
Right.
unfolded was obviously for for my highest good. So yeah,
Right.
I
And
did
then
get brainwashed. Yeah.
right. And that's an unfortunate reality of situations like that. I mean, looking in from the outside, people are like, "Why don't you just leave?" But it's not that easy when you've been brainwashed into everything, all their belief systems and all the things they want you to believe. So the murder of your son seemed to be the catalyst to kind of snap you out of your brainwashing to escape. Does that sound correct?
Yes. Yes.
So
And and not
go
only
ahead.
did it snap me out of my cult programming, my little mini cult programming, it's I was then able to see how cult programming is acting on a global level, how we have these systems in place like the financial system, the education system, the medical system, the legal system, religions, how they all function to create a cult experience for everyone. But
Hmm.
that's not um, visible. It's not visible. It's a like a
Yeah.
psychological prison where we're you programmed to be, working 9 to 5 and paying taxes and all
Hmm.
that, whereas that for everyone may not be what our highest calling is really. We're enslaved in this sort
Yeah.
of debt slave system.
Yeah.
So I was able to
Absolutely.
see that and how we're manipulated through mainstream media and
Mhm.
these black screen devices keep us um, whatever, but not in peace anyway. With all the news that's coming,
Right.
it's very creates fear, and that when people are fearful, they'll be more likely to follow instructions that may not be for their highest good. But it's the environment that we're living in isn't allowing us to live as sovereign beings.
Right.
We're being manipulated to be living in ways that aren't peaceful and supportive
Hmm.
of everyone.
Yeah.
It's a very unjust system that we're all caught up in.
Yeah. I completely agree. And we are brainwashed every day by the media we consume, and it's disheartening to see that we're led to believe that this is how life should be. And I know I escaped the 9 to 5, and I'm so grateful every day that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so after you left the cult and started your process, like what did it look like to grieve your son and your at that point, did you now have an opportunity to truly grieve the loss of your husband too?
I well and truly grieved the loss of my husband right from the start because I
Yeah.
was part of a let's call it a spiritual community. So I did a lot of rebirthing, and what it looked like me
Okay.
like crying on the ground, screaming until I burst blood vessels in my eyes,
Hmm.
making just sounds that I never even heard come out of myself, rivers of snot. That's what it looked
Yeah.
like. It looked
That's so
like,
healthy. People don't
yeah,
understand how healthy that
I
is to,
know. That's something I really wanted to make sure that we talked about today was the
yeah,
importance
yeah,
of expressing emotions and knowing that however dark and however dark it feels, when you're going through that it will pass. And
yeah,
actually, what is happening is those emotions are coming out, so you're not carrying them anymore. So it's
yeah.
important to cry when you need to cry. I mean, obviously, there's a time and a place, but that whole idea of when people start to cry and then they say, I'm sorry, that just really annoys the heck out of
Mm.
me because
Me
those tears are
too.
sacred. They're so sacred. And
Yeah.
it should be okay to be. And the fact that there's people I watch a lot of true crime and there's people who tell their stories and then you can feel them trying to hold back their tears and it's so unhealthy. So let the
Yeah.
river flow, basically. I did a lot of
Yeah.
crying, still do.
Yeah.
I um, hear the sound of a skateboard, and that usually triggers a wave of grief. But yeah, what it looked like a lot of emoting, a lot of screaming, crying,
Yeah.
and letting the emotions move through me.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that. And I always love to encourage that with anybody I work with or and my listeners on my podcast is embracing those emotions and not stifling them down. And we're just we get so uneasy around big feelings and big
Right.
emotions that we shy away
Yeah.
from them and we stuff them down. But the best
Or
thing you can
medicate
do,
for them,
yeah,
right?
or oh
I,
God,
I,
don't get me
I was
started.
I was offered medication and it was such an anathema to me. I thought, why would I want to do that?
Yeah,
Because you're denying yourself the experience of whatever it is. Just
yeah,
like choosing to opt for a cesarean, you need to deny yourself the that initiation.
yeah, yeah,
Might as well walk through the initiation.
absolutely.
And then there are tools, like I said, I did
Yeah.
rebirthing, but there are a lot of sort of breath work techniques or
Mhm.
like it's like chakra breathing or whatever it is that can actually help bring the emotions up if you're
Yeah.
not, because your body's got, they're in there. They're in
Yeah.
there even if you're not feeling them. The body
Yeah.
knows. And when you get out of, when you get your mind out of the way, the body can release the emotions and just trust it. Just trust
Yeah.
whatever's moving through and keep breathing. And it might get messy and snotty, but it'll end.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's
Some of
nothing
the
wrong with that.
I always liken death to birth because, the dying can be a labor much like birthing can, depending on the death. But like when we think about birth, everybody says that's the most beautiful moment in life is birth, and it's messy, it's gross. There's fluids and screaming and pain, and but it's beautiful at the same time. And I feel like death and grief can also be beautiful.
Yeah, our whole approach to death is
It's
it's really
backwards.
wrong.
It
It
is.
really is. The whole dignity around death is gone,
Yeah.
mostly, for the most part.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have experienced some other than those deaths. I've had some, like my father passing. I've got to experience some beautiful deaths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them are tragic and traumatic,
Hmm.
but and that's same with birth, all sorts of
Right.
all transitions of life can be beautiful or tragic. But um so you
I
you
also,
consider this your rebirth.
yes, a rebirth. I've
Hmm.
had many of them.
Oh, I
But I
feel
did,
like we all do, but I
yeah, we do,
tell me
don't
more.
we?
Yeah.
Um, I also wanted to say that one
Yeah.
of the let's call it the tools or the that's helped me through the journey
Yeah.
of losing my son and my husband is connecting with them in the spiritual world. So that's how we were going to get. But
Go
yeah,
full woo. Go full woo. I'm down with it.
I remember the first time I went to I needed a lot of help after my husband died because I was pregnant, so I was getting a lot of body work and things like that
Yeah.
because I missed the touch and whatever, trying to stay human, stay embodied.
Yeah.
And I went to see this woman who advertises herself as a psychologist, but actually was a small country town, so she couldn't really put up the shingle of psychic because she
Yeah.
probably would have got laughed at. But anyhow, I went to see her, and she said, "Oh, I can see this man behind you," and she described Barry, my partner who crossed over,
Oh,
and she described how he was standing and what he was saying, and I knew in that instant that
yeah.
there is continuity of consciousness. Death isn't the end, and we can communicate with our crossed over loved ones
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
can set up systems, before they pass with signs and,
Mhm.
I know my son's comes to me as a dragonfly, and that's been
Oh.
such a powerful symbol and
Mhm.
appearance. Now I live in a place where dragonflies appear all the time. And my other
Oh.
partner, my husband, the day before he died, I drove under a rainbow. It was pretty trippy. There was a hawk flying in front of the car. There was a rainbow over the road, and I drove under it. I knew at that time something. Thought to myself that something's up, and then I went home that night, and he passed away the next day. So
Oh
the
my
rainbow has
gosh.
been when the rainbow shows up, I feel his presence, and I think that's
Wow.
important to know that we can then communicate with they basically act as our angels. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they are there guiding us and protecting us. And then that gives me a deep security and trust. And I can let go. I'm not so fearful about
Yeah.
like, what's going to happen. and then have my own figure out my own relationship to death, which is something I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be freedom, but the
Yeah.
ultimate freedom, and there'll
Yeah.
be absolutely nothing to fear. And trust
Yeah.
that if I'm guided now, which I am, that and protected, that I will be guided and protected when I leave. I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about what's going to happen next. We'll figure that out then. So
Yeah.
yeah, that
Oh,
that figuring out my relationship to death has helped me live more peacefully and just more simply
mhm.
and
Yeah.
without fear.
Yeah. And I try to preach that all the time, that just understanding our mortality and being and embracing our impending death, that and not fearing it, which it's easy to say. And I could talk all day about not fearing death, but when we really finally embrace it and recognize it, it makes the life we live now so much more fulfilling
Hmm.
because it's a lead up to this huge event, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So, if you were to talk to somebody who might be in the space you were in before you got brainwashed into the cult, right after your husband passed away, um, and you were alone and you were in that very dark and vulnerable space, what would you tell to somebody who is in that position right now?
I would suggest to find that place that that heart connection
Hmm.
to higher power and to feel that and to trust that and to know that that's what's going to guide you forward through this.
Yeah.
That for me was really important, just to, because at first you can be like, can I, turn my back on God, like curse God, oh God, why this
Yeah.
happened, why'd you do this to me,
Yeah.
I didn't deserve this,
Hmm.
or that judging that it was the wrong time or whatever for the person. But as soon as you can, to get back into that, trusting that whatever's unfolding is for your highest and best. But that doesn't mean to be skip over it and go, oh well, okay, that's all good. But to trust that there's going to be a process, that you'll come out the other side,
Yeah.
and you will have been transformed through that initiation.
Yeah. So, you've written a couple of books. Tell us a little bit about those.
Uh, the last two I wrote, Putting on the Armor of God, which is a book that I wrote just when that whole, let's call it a scamdemic started. And it's basically like what I understood was going on, and then a lot of the medicines, like I just mentioned, that can be used to uh, stay centered and grounded and balanced and optimized. And then my vision for what I would like to see the world be like,
Yeah.
where babies are born at home into peace and love. And that's the way we get to exit this world in optimal conditions, of course.
Yeah.
And then this is the other one that I published about a year ago. It's called
Oh,
New Human of New Earth, which is my understanding of, like I said, the cult that keeps humanity under control, and then a much bigger exploration of body technologies and natural medicines, and then spiritual technologies that we have available to us to use, that are free, powerful, and effective in uh, keeping us moving through this human experience, because it's not easy. It's not easy being a human,
yeah.
and so many people are suffering right now.
Yeah.
Really, I don't know anyone who's not going through some kind of major initiation. And
Yeah.
in order to, including the planet, that's the thing. That's why, because
Yeah.
we are seeing, it's basically because of the frequency of light that's hitting the planet now. It's just stirring up the muck. Basically, that's kind of what's
Yeah.
happening on an energetic level. So from my experience, in order to be uh, able to go through these times with little as possible disruption or being thrown around as possible, to stay connected to earth, right? Because if you're connected to the earth, then you're going through the changes along with the earth. But if you're not, if you're disconnected from earth, you don't touch the ground, don't go outside, whatever, then it's
Hmm.
going to be, you'll be, it'll be much more of a chaotic
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
So I've written about that. I wrote a whole chapter on AI, because don't get me started on that.
Uh, yeah. Yeah.
There are
That's
so
a
many
sticky
ways
one.
we're being dehumanized and disconnected from ourselves as human beings, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my that's what I write about.
Thank you. And I'll have links to those in the description for my listeners. So you please go check those out and get yourself a copy because they sound fascinating. I will have to
Thank
check one
you.
out myself. So before we wrap up, tell us a little bit about your life now, like how your life you're in Kauai, correct? On the island of beautiful island. I've been there. It's amazing. It was my favorite of the Hawaiian Islands. So tell us a little bit about life on the other side, past all of this hurt and grief.
I don't suffer anymore. I used to suffer all the time. Like I said, I felt like a victim. Like, why is this happening to me? And even though some fairly tragic things have happened in the time since I left the cult, I don't suffer all the time. The emotions just move through me. And that's the biggest change for
Yeah.
me. So I live much more in peace. I'm the most blessed person I know. I live on the beach. I can watch the sunrise every morning. I
Oh,
saw mating turtles on the sand the other day. So
oh,
uh, the work that I have done to move through, like I really did work hard. I did a lot of spiritual work. I did a lot of like courses and I did journaling, all those sorts of stuff. So I used the tools that I write about in the book. And
mhm.
I feel like that now I'm able to live in peace, really, and with abundance and so many blessings and good friends. And I feel like I'm living as close as I can to being a sovereign being, which is what's really important to me.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. So, I have a little tradition on my podcast. The end of every episode, I'm going to pull a random card out of the death deck, which is just conversation starter questions about death and dying. And I will let you answer it, and then I will answer it too. So, fair is fair. Okay. Regarding important documents, i.e., your living will, life insurance, and healthcare directives, does your family know where to find them? Sorry. A, my family knows exactly where to find them. B, they're filed together and should be easy to find. Or C, they may not exist, so good luck finding them. So, in other words, do you have all your important documents together?
I just want to say that, see, they may not exist, so good luck in finding them. That's true for the family, not the documents.
Right, right, right.
No, I don't have. Yeah, there's no family, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I have a little, I don't have much family left, but I do at least have my living will and my medical power of attorney paperwork in a folder, and my husband and my close friends know where to find it. So
I
I
think
keep
it's
all that.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got
Yeah.
a friend on hospice who just got together all those things. And
Oh,
it took her a while, but she worked through it. It's a good thing to do if you've got,
yeah. Yeah.
obviously, if you've got
Yeah.
property. It's that whole Swedish death cleaning thing, right?
Hmm.
Pre- get prepared.
Yeah. Well, and I always encourage people outside of just like the legal as because unfortunately death is a very legal event in the United States and there's a lot of paperwork involved. But to have a written will of sorts for your spiritual needs, what how you want to be cared for if you are actively dying or recently dead, and what you want done with your remains. Like those are important things that we don't always think about.
Right. And it takes so much off the living relatives. I remember when Barry died, I knew what he wanted to happen. So
Yeah,
I didn't have to wonder.
yeah, yeah. Well, Isabella, this has been amazing. Tell my listeners where they can find you, where they can find your books, and any other last things you want to share.
I have a YouTube channel called Feeling Better Naturally dot, I don't know what it is. I think dot nature.
Okay.
And so I have got little tips about being in nature and also
Oh, cool.
bringing plants indoors, all that sort of stuff, even
Yeah.
just watching animals. And then I've got a website, feelingbetter naturally.love, and that's got some of my writing, my books, and some of my artwork. So
Cool.
the I think my message, sorry, my message is to spend as much time as possible in nature every day, away from electronic devices, and just relax and receive.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest gift that we can give to ourselves now because there's a lot going on that's pretty intense for
Yeah.
everyone.
I agree. I'm about to go for a walk right now. The sun is
Yeah,
shining for once in
perfect.
Ohio. So I'm going to go for a walk.
Perfect.
Nice long
Yeah.
one. So thank you so much, Isabella. It was lovely to chat with you today.
Thank you, Nikki, and thank you for all that you're doing to
Oh,
help people through really challenging times. Thank you for helping. others feel better and move with grace through life.
Thank
Doing
you so
great
much.
service. Thank you.
All right. Another huge thank you and shout out to Isabella for bravely sharing her story with not just me, but the whole world. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and so much more great stuff to come. I'm so sad the season's over, but I'm so excited for next season. So please stay tuned. Again, I'll be back on May 20th with brand new episodes. Already got some recorded. Other great stuff in the works. So yeah, stay tuned. In the meantime, if you want some cool merch, I've got shirts like the one hanging up behind me there. I've got notebooks, like journaling notebooks and stickers. All that stuff is in the link. If you have a burning question for me, I was hoping to do Q&A episode, but I didn't really get anybody asking me any Q's. So if you have any questions, there's a great link in the description below as well, where you can record a message for me and I might play it on the show and answer your questions. So yeah, if you really enjoyed this episode, the quickest, easiest, best thing you can do, leave me a little rating and a review. Tell everybody why you enjoyed the show. Tell a friend about it. All that stuff is quick, easy, and doesn't cost you a dime. If you'd like to support the show a little bit deeper, you can go to patreon.com/NikkiTheDeathDoula and support me there. Those funds are specifically so I can provide pro bono services out in the community, and also kind of helps keep this podcast going. So, because I don't get paid for this. No ad revenue, guys. And lastly, please come join us over at the Good Grief Society. You can find all of that and anything else you need at NikkiTheDeathDoula.com/podcast. That is all. That is a wrap on season 8. Oh my gosh, you guys. I'm going to miss you all, but I will be back. I hope you have an amazing couple of weeks. And please remember, as always, grief is yours, your feelings are valid, and grief doesn't always have to suck. Good Grief with Nikki the Death Doula is produced by Nikki Smith of Nikki the Death Doula LLC in Columbus, Ohio. Nikki the Death Doula LLC is for consulting, education, emotional support, and guidance, and is no way considered a funeral establishment or licensed mental health establishment. Scripts, editing, sound design, literally everything with this podcast is done solely by Nikki Smith of Nikki the Death Doula LLC, with the exception of the music. The music is Cheery Monday by Kevin MacLeod. Licensing information can be found at filmmusic.io.